Good morning, I'm Kenneth Moten.
And I'm Janae Norman. Here are the top 5 things to know this Friday. Number 1, House Democrats are one step closer to impeaching President Trump after wrapping up public hearings. They expect to draft articles of impeachment and hold a vote by Christmas.
And Republicans are working on their next move, a strategy that may include a 2-week impeachment trial in the Senate. Number 2, the military is investigating the deadly crash of 2 fighter jets in Oklahoma.
One of the training jets landed upside down near a runway at Vance Air Force Base. 2 airmen were killed.
It's the second crash involving that kind of training jet in Oklahoma in the last 15 months. In the previous crash, the pilot was able to eject in time. On
to number 3 now. A former Boston College student accused of encouraging her boyfriend to take his life has returned to the U.S. for arraignment today in Massachusetts.
Prosecutors say In Young Yu sent 47,000 text messages over a 2-month period to Alexander Utula, telling him he should kill himself and go die. And that's what he did on his graduation day. The district attorney spoke about the charges.
Miss Yu made demands and threats with the understanding that she had complete and total control over Mr. Urtula, both mentally and emotionally.
Newly released text messages suggest that you tried to stop him in the moments before his death. She's charged with involuntary manslaughter.
Number 4, Tesla has unveiled its latest electric vehicle, a pickup truck.
The so-called Cybertruck was revealed at the Los Angeles Auto Show. The sticker price, $40,000, and the estimated battery range is between 250 and 500 miles. It's expected to be available in 2021.
Unfortunately, the Cybertruck may not be as durable as Elon Musk wanted. Its armored glass cracked when a Tesla designer threw a metal ball at the windows.
Oops. And finally, number 5, the band Coldplay is calling it quits when it comes to going on tour. They say they want to protect the planet.
To reduce their carbon footprint, they're cutting back on travel instead. They'll be streaming their upcoming concerts online for all their fans.
They say they're not touring again until they can find a way to make their travel not just sustainable, but beneficial to the environment.
It's a conscious uncoupling of
traveling.
Touring.
Yeah.
It is Morning America. Let's get right to that big story, a possible new timeline for the impeachment investigation after 2 weeks of testimony on Capitol Hill.
As Democrats move forward, ABC News has learned talks are underway concerning a likely impeachment trial in the Senate. The last scheduled hearing in the House featured blunt accounts from 2 career diplomats who were frustrated by the administration's campaign to pressure Ukraine.
One of them delivered a stark warning about Russia and how it's already targeting the 2020 election. Let's bring in ABC's Elizabeth Herb with the new details. Elizabeth, good morning.
Kenneth and Janae, good morning. Yes, after nearly 40 hours of public hearings, Democrats say they are preparing to move forward, and Republicans are conceding a trial cannot be avoided, and so they are getting ready. House Democrats wrapping 2 weeks of public impeachment hearings, convinced the testimonies they heard are proof President Trump abused his power.
This president believes he is above the law, beyond accountability. And I would just say to people watching here at home and around the world, in the words of my great colleague, we are better than that. Adjourned.
The scheduled public hearings ending Thursday with former top National Security Council official Dr. Fiona Hill quoting former National Security Advisor John Bolton as calling the president's personal attorney Rudy Giuliani a hand grenade who's going to blow everybody up.
Did you understand what he meant by that?
And that he was clearly pushing forward issues and ideas that would, probably come back to haunt us. And in fact, I think that that's where we are today.
But Republicans called the Democrats' push to impeach the president a political hit job.
The Democrats promised they would be different. They promised they would govern. But we found out from the very first day of swearing in that their true goal here was to impeach the president.
I do not see any indication, at least right now, of any defections on the Republican side, not in the Senate and not in the House, on the question of impeachment.
Even still, ABC News learning the White House is now bracing for an impeachment trial, with senior administration officials meeting to talk strategy, and President Trump hosting a lunch with 8 GOP senators, including 2 of his critics, Mitt Romney and Susan Collins. Now, if the House votes to impeach, that's when the process moves to the Senate. It takes 2/3 of the Senate to convict and remove the president from office. Kenneth?
All right, now, Elizabeth, before you go, one key argument we've heard from the Republicans is that President Trump wanted to get to the heart of this theory that Ukraine was responsible for meddling in the 2016 election, but Fiona Hill really pushed back on that.
Yeah, that's right, Kenneth. You know, Fiona Hill called it a fictional narrative and that Russia was benefiting from President Trump and congressional Republicans pushing this idea that it was Ukraine, not Russia, that tried to interfere in the 2016 election.
Based on questions and statements I've heard, some of you on this committee appear to believe that Russia and its security services did not conduct a campaign against our country, and that perhaps, somehow, for some reason, Ukraine did. This is a fictional narrative that has been perpetrated and propagated by the Russian security services themselves. The unfortunate truth is that Russia was the foreign power that systematically attacked our democratic institutions in 2016. This is the public conclusion of our intelligence agencies, confirmed in bipartisan congressional reports. It is beyond dispute, even if some of the underlying details must remain classified.
Well, Hill went on to say that Russia's attack on U.S. democracy was ongoing and that we are, quote, running out of time to stop them from interfering in the 2020 election. Kenneth?
All right, Elizabeth Herr, thank you.
Now, before yesterday's impeachment hearing got started, President Trump tweeted about a potential release of his financial records.
It said, quote, "When I release my financial statement sometime prior to the election, it will only show one thing, that I am much richer than people even thought." The president also pledged in September to release what he called extremely complete financial records, but offered no details. He also said he would release his tax returns before the 2016 election. We all know that never happened. The president cited an audit.
New trouble for a close ally of President Trump. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been indicted on bribery and fraud charges. He's accused of taking gifts for political favors. Netanyahu claims he's the victim of a coup attempt. The case adds to the political chaos in Israel, where the opposition leader recently failed to form a coalition government.
And President Trump was on hand last night at Dover Air Force Base to receive the remains of 2 soldiers killed Wednesday in Afghanistan. Chief Warrant Officers David Nadel of Texas and Kurt Fuchigami Jr. from Hawaii died in a helicopter crash. They were providing support for troops on the ground. Both were stationed at Fort Hood, Texas. And we do turn now to the college professor under fire for messages he posted online.
He's being called racist and sexist, but this morning, despite the outrage, the university where he works says he will not be fired.
This morning, a professor at Indiana University igniting controversy, accused of sharing racist, sexist, and homophobic messages on social media.
I noticed a lot of replies to a tweet I'd made a week or so before, and those were mounting.
Earlier this month, business professor Eric Rasmussen shared an article on Twitter with the headline, "Are Women Destroying Academia?" Probably. He then quoted a line that read, "Geniuses are overwhelmingly male." The university was then inundated with demands that he be removed. In a scathing letter, the school's provost says Rasmussen has pushed bigoted views on social media for years, including that women don't belong in the workplace, that gay men shouldn't be in the classrooms because they are promiscuous, and that black students are academically inferior to white students. But she says the professor will not be fired because he's protected by the First Amendment.
Vile as I find them, we're a public institution, and unlike private employers, we're bound by the First Amendment of the Constitution.
Rasmussen has been teaching at the school since 1992 and has tenure. He says his critics are overreacting.
Oh, that's a knee-jerk reaction. Most people don't understand academia anyway, and they know that in some businesses people get fired for having conservative views, and they figure if they complain to the dean here, they might fire me too. And it's possible it might happen, but I have tenure, so it would be against the law to do it.
The university is now providing alternative classes for students if they don't want to take Rasmussen's classes.
And to guard against any bias, from now on, when he's grading assignments, Rasmussen will no longer be able to see the names of the students he's grading.
Well, authorities in Virginia say they are working through nearly 300 leads in their manhunt for a Marine. Michael Brown is accused of murdering his mother's boyfriend November 9th. He hasn't been seen since the following day at a gas station. An RV belonging to Brown was discovered last week. A $10,000 reward is being offered for information leading to his arrest. A New Jersey-based food company is recalling more than 75,000 pounds of salad products that contain meat or poultry because the lettuce may be contaminated with E. coli. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says 17 people from 8 states have reported E. coli infections. You can check the ABC News website for a complete list of the recalled products.
Well, now to a major scare for passengers on a flight from Los Angeles. They just left LAX when they saw flames shooting from an engine and heard what they described sounded like gunshots. Burst of fire coming from the right engine on the Philippine Airlines jet was visible even from the ground. But it was especially tense on board, where a little girl saw the flames from her seat. Her father caught it on camera. Annabelle Munoz of our LA station has that story.
There's a heavy 777. They're in emergency with an engine out.
A frightening flight for passengers headed for the Philippines.
There will be a stop for departures. We're going to have an emergency inbound.
Some pulled out their cell phones as flames were shooting out of an engine shortly after takeoff.
I could see like flashes of light. I thought it was some kind of just from the sunlight. And then I just started hearing like boom, boom, boom. And then I look out of the window and there's balls of fire just shooting out of the engine.
Passengers on the right side were like already were panicking a bit. So, and then they were saying that it was spitting fire already after a few minutes of takeoff. So that's what happened, and then the plane turned around again.
And witnesses on the ground spotted the flames before the Philippine Airlines plane made an emergency landing at LAX. Adam Taylor was filming his 2-year-old daughter as they began their trip, which quickly turned into a scary ride.
We're up in the air, and I hear boom, boom. I see some flashes. I'm like, just kind of in shock, like, what is that, you know? And I see her kind of get confused. And before you know it, I peep out and just see flames, flames, flames.
We landed safely. The landing was a little rough. We busted some tires, but the pilot, I think, tried his very best.
Our thanks to Annabelle there. And switching to the big headline from the NFL, the season is over for Cleveland's Myles Garrett. He lost the appeal of his indefinite suspension for clubbing Pittsburgh's Mason Rudolph in the head with Rudolph's own helmet. According to ESPN, Garrett claimed Rudolph had used a racial slur. Rudolph denies it, and the league says it didn't find any evidence supporting the claim. A Utah woman is fighting possible prison time because her stepchildren saw her topless in her home. 27-year-old Tilly Buchanan wants a judge to toss out charges of lewdness involving a child.
Buchanan says she and her husband took off their shirts because they were dirty after hanging drywall, and the 3 kids ages 9 to 13 walked in. She told them seeing her bare chest shouldn't be any different than seeing their father's.
Check out the Grinch who stole Frosty. The crook is caught running off with a 6-foot-tall inflatable snowman near Dayton, Ohio. It might have been a case of sabotage. They grabbed it from a house that's won the local Christmas lights contest 5 years in a row.
Well, coming up, a reporter's sick day message goes viral. See what his coworkers did to make him feel better.
Plus, an update on Bebe the panda after his long flight home to China. After this. We turn now to the growing scandal involving Prince Andrew and his ties to sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Prince Andrew has already stepped aside from his royal duties, but this morning a new Epstein accuser has come forward demanding the prince speak to investigators. This morning, Prince Andrew spotted in public for the first time since stepping down from his royal duties because of his association with Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted sex offender who died by suicide while on trial for sex trafficking. The sighting came hours after a new accuser of Epstein came forward, demanding Prince Andrew speak to the FBI about what he knows about Epstein.
There's no need to wait for a gold-engraved invitation. It should be done without delay.
Epstein's new accuser, Tila Davies, says Epstein sexually assaulted her when she was 17. She showed a picture of them in a helicopter over the Virgin Islands around the time of the alleged abuse.
I was a little girl. It took me a long time to break free from his mind control and abuse.
Her attorney, Gloria Allred, says Davies met with several high-profile people while she was with Epstein. Allred did not say whether Prince Andrew was one of those people.
During that time, she met a number of celebrities, but we're not going to disclose the names of those well-known people at this time.
Also speaking out about the prince's decision to step aside, Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who says she was one of Epstein's teenage sex slaves, ordered to have sex with Prince Andrew, something the prince denies. In a new statement, Roberts Giuffre says Prince Andrew basing his decision to step away from his duties due to his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein is only a half-truth. He clearly had a long-term association with Ghislaine Maxwell, who we maintain was Epstein's co-conspirator and played a central role in devastating the lives of countless women. Maxwell denies any involvement in Epstein's crimes. She has not been seen publicly in months.
All right, we are going to switch gears completely and check our notifications, starting with an update on Bebe the panda. He's got a new home in China.
The 4-year-old panda landed in Asia yesterday after a 16-hour flight and was taken to a conservation where a crowd welcomed him to the country. Handlers released him into what will be his temporary home, where Bebe got comfortable by eating 13 pounds of bamboo for breakfast. So, welcome to China, Babu.
And a woman, a new world record in the making. A Chicago woman attempting to break the record for the longest marathon hula hoop session. She's going for 100 hours.
And she is still going.
5-minute break every hour.
Good luck with that one. And a sick day for a Kansas City traffic reporter managed to take over the internet.
An email announcing Nick Vassos was under the weather accidentally went out to the entire Nexstar media group. That prompted a huge email chain from his Nexstar colleagues, which was eventually stopped. So they started a Twitter hashtag, Prayers for Nick. His co-worker, my good friend Jonathan McCall, may have had the best response. That's him praying in front of a picture of Vassos surrounded by candles. Hope you get better, Nick.
And a Florida dog learned a new trick driving.
Residents in Port St. Lucie saw a car circling their cul-de-sac in reverse. After a closer look, they realized it was a dog behind the wheel. That car hit a mailbox and a few garbage cans before police managed to get the dog out safely. They say the human driver had walked away after accidentally leaving the car in reverse. Moving on now to investigators in Texas trying to unravel the mystery behind the discovery of a missing Navy veteran who's just been discovered in his apartment dead.
The medical examiner says he'd been dead for 3 years. Here's ABC's Marcy Gonzalez.
A baffling end to a 3-year-long mystery. Ronald Wayne White, a Navy veteran who traveled the world as a defense contractor, vanished in 2016.
My son would call me at least twice a month. He didn't call me from Egypt, he didn't call me from the Philippines.
But those phone calls to his family suddenly stopped, and a search of his last known address turned up nothing. His mother, living in New York, didn't know he'd moved to a new building near Dallas. That is where the long-awaited explanation for his disappearance finally came last week. An employee at this apartment complex went into this unit to find out why the tenant apparently wasn't using any water and found White's body on the kitchen floor. The medical examiner believes he'd been there for the past 3 years.
The way he was found, the way the apartment was arranged and so forth, there was zero indication of foul play.
My biggest question is how in the world could my son have been dead 3 years in that apartment and nobody knowed anything?
Police explain the apartments are well insulated, and White had a month-to-month lease with the rent automatically withdrawn from his bank account. But the family demanding answers questions how no one noticed that his truck, parked in the complex's garage, covered in dust and leaflets, was never moved.
I can't hardly cope with it, to be honest with you, and if I wasn't around them, I probably wouldn't. I can't hardly deal with it.
A spokesperson for the apartment company says they are cooperating with police as they investigate. Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Our thanks to Marcy. Coming up, we'll tell you what to watch out for today.
Plus, how to budget your holiday spending, why turkeys are cheaper and Christmas trees are more expensive this year. After this. Here's what to watch out for today. President Trump is scheduled to participate in the NCAA Collegiate National Champions Day celebration and then attend a listening session on youth vaping and the electronic cigarette epidemic.
Twitter's ban on political advertising goes into effect today. The social media platform is taking the opposite position of Facebook, which says it will continue to allow even potentially false political ads despite criticism, citing free speech.
And we're a week away from Black Friday, but retailers are already ramping up those holiday deals. Amazon is kicking off its Black Friday deals week, where you can get the Echo Show 5 for more than 40% off. At Lowe's, you can save $250 on an iRobot Roomba, and at Best Buy, the Apple Watch Series 4 is marked down $300. Starting Thanksgiving Day, many of the deals will also be available online. If you're looking for toys, those discounts come closer to Christmas.
Plus, don't forget to tune into the debrief for an update on all our top stories, and the briefing room for a breakdown of the latest headlines in politics. Our question of the day: what's your Black Friday strategy? Do you shop online, camp out early, or just ignore it altogether? Tell us in the comments. Tweet us at ABC News Live.
Let us know.
Yep. And before you get to Christmas, there is Thanksgiving. And finally this morning, before you start checking off that holiday shopping list, you might want to head to the grocery store first if you haven't already for that Thanksgiving turkey.
You might even want to pick up a bird Even if you're not hosting Thanksgiving dinner this year, the U.S. Farm Bureau is reporting that turkey prices are at their lowest level in 9 years.
Price of turkey is down 31%, averaging $1.27 per pound. That, in turn, is offsetting the rising price of everything else for the traditional Thanksgiving feast for 10 people. This year, Thanksgiving dinner with all the fixins will cost an average of $48.91. That's only 1 cent more than last year.
And after you've tucked away all that turkey and stuffing, you might want to take care of picking up this year's Christmas tree.
Unfortunately, no savings there this year. In fact, thanks to tighter supplies, you can even expect higher prices for that tree this year.
Thanks to hot weather, heavy rains, and a cutback on planting new trees during the recession of 2008, industry watchers say we can expect to see the average price of a live Christmas tree this year to be about $78.
Oh, if you're paying that much, make sure it's strapped real well to the top of the car.
That is very true. And don't forget to water your tree. There's a lot of tips and tricks that I'm pretty sure we're going to be reporting on in the next few weeks.
You're probably right.
All right, that's it for us.
Have a great weekend.